If you've got a question for Dr. Woods, we'll be able to ask it then as well. Folks, we'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to the National Intel Report on Republic Broadcasting Network. I am Antonin Feori, sitting in today for John Statmiller. And we're visiting today with Dr. Judy Wood, the author of Where Did the Towers Go? And we're talking about the events of September 11th. And I think that sometimes we, those of us who've been researching this and seeking more truth about things of that day, sometimes we get caught up on the evidence quite a lot. And I'm very happy to have the caller on the line, John from New York, who was, I believe, 11 years old at the time, the day of the event. And John, are you still on the line with us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can, yes. Did I remember that correctly? You were 11 at that time, is that right?
I was 11 years old in elementary school, and that's when it happened. I got picked up early. I went from the house. The smoke, the black smoke from the towers, reached all the way to my kitchen window. What a day that was. I remember that we had to go pick, my parents, they had to go pick up my older brother and my older sister because they went to school around there, and they were covered in white dust. I mean, and it was just, I mean, the only expression that I could fathom to share with others on how I felt, you know, at the end of the Planet of the Apes, where that guy is just like, damn you all to hell. That's basically the only thing. And I can remember that after that, and then on the TV, the president got on and said, we're going to war, and all this other nonsense, and everybody was all happy. Yeah, we're going to get them back. We're going to get them back. And then later, I come to find out that it was an inside job and all this blah, blah, blah. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's 2011. We're in the 2000s, and this is like a new Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate very much, relating those personal experiences to you. It had to have been intensely emotional that day. And Dr. Wood, you've made presentations, lectures extensively all across the country, relating to your research, and I'm sure also on a lot of call-in programs. You've heard other experiences, somewhat like what John has shared with us. Could you share your thoughts or some reaction to this?
Yes, your first experience, first impressions really do stick. There's a section in my book about this, that if people need answers. They'll keep asking questions till they get answers. As soon as they get an answer, they go with it. They don't stop to think if it's meaningful, if it makes sense, or anything else. And it becomes ironed in memory as though it's fact. It never gets questioned. It's just, it's a very vulnerable time for people. And they don't, kind of like, the George Stephanopoulos thing with the towers evaporated. He didn't stop to think how that was. People just take what information they're given, and if they find it really scary, that's going to be terrorizing to them. It's pretty horrible. And the thing he mentioned about the city being covered with dust everywhere, that is weird. It's unusual. I mean, it's a very correct observation he made. But a building falling down doesn't do that. That's a building turning to dust.
Quite right. Very good points. John, appreciate your call once again. Any final thoughts here, John, before we move ahead with other callers and such?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. Yes, John. Yeah, any final thoughts, John, or question for Dr. Wood before we move on?
I do want to say thanks for having me on the show, and I hope that this gets out there because, I mean, there's so many people that I knew that families was actually in the towers. I knew someone that their mom went out for a cigarette break, and when she came out for the cigarette break, the plane crashed. I mean, this hurt so many people. I just want people to never forget that day and to just use that as a fuel to just move on. So, I mean, thanks for having me, and I hope this gets across, and God help us.
Well, John, thank you again very much for calling in. I appreciate having you on the program and also sharing that personal experience of your own that had to have been tremendously powerful that day. Thank you, friend, and safe travels to you. Dr. Wood, again, there were so many people personally affected, and as you had mentioned too, even just within John's remarks now, alluding to the dust everywhere, as extensive as it was, as finely broken down as a lot of those particles were. That's one more example in that chain of evidence and anomalies that point toward the idea that the official story, at the very least, is incomplete, if not in part manufactured or distorted. Dr. Wood, where's the best place for us to go next to try to cover?
I've got a short story to share from someone who contacted me, who had worked in the North Tower. And they realized they weren't going to get any work done for the day, and so they were going to head home on the ferry. And they walked past Building 2. It looked like fires were about out. The rest of the building looked like it was in good health. And it's just that with all this ruckus, he's not going to get work done, so he's going home. So he goes down to the ferry dock, and there's a bunch of other people waiting there. And from there, he said you couldn't see the towers because of the, closer buildings are blocking the view. And then some guy came running up saying Tower 2 just collapsed. And they all looked at him and decided this guy was insane because nobody felt the building fall. Nobody, heard a building crash, and the building was in good health when they passed it.
Yeah. Very interesting, no? Well, folks, we do need to take another quick commercial break. The phone lines are open for your calls, 1-800-313-9443, 1-800-313-9443. We'll see you on the other side of this brief set of messages from our sponsors. Thanks again, folks. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to RBN and the National Intel Report. I am Antonin Feori from the Crimson Pill, sitting in for John Stadtmiller on today, Thursday, August 4th, as we're having our Wake the Neighbors show, and we're very privileged to be joined by Dr. Judy Wood, author of Where Did the Towers Go?, as we're talking through some of the question marks that surround the official version of the events of that day. And Dr. Wood has been very gracious to join us to work through the course of her research and findings in so many of these questions. And Dr. Wood, one of the things I was struck by is what is referred to as the Hutchison effect, and how that contributes or may contribute to some of the phenomenon that we have alluded to already, some of these anomalies. Could you maybe begin by telling the listening audience, a lot of folks may have no familiarity there, what is the Hutchison effect, and how do you see some connecting points to these anomalies?
Well, I didn't know what the Hutchison effect was before this either, but I believe in looking at the evidence and letting the evidence speak. The evidence will tell you exactly what happened if you listen carefully enough or watch it. And I kept tabulating all the different phenomena that I had witnessed. And so one night I happened to be on the internet and found a bunch of pictures of somebody reproducing the exact same effects. It looked like the same effects. And this is amazing. I mean, somebody can reproduce this? And then come to find out, it was John Hutchison's blog.
Ah.
And what he had, pictures showing material turning to like jelly momentarily. And we saw the same things at the World Trade Center. Bent beams, like curled more than 180 degrees, smooth bends, slow bending of metals, shredded metal structures, fractured metal structures, peeling appearance. In some of the toasted cars, the door looked like it split through the thickness and the outer portion peeled, and he had produced the same effects. Fusion of dissimilar materials. We've seen at the World Trade Center, like paper, still with this color, fused into metal. It looked like, of course, in storms, we have straw in trees. Doesn't fly there. It didn't melt there because it still has its color. It's not burned up.
Yes.
And then lift or disruption. That is a trend I noticed with the toasted cars. The ones that were still upright with tires on the pavement, they were really toasted, much worse than the ones that were like parked right in front of it, but upside down with the tires in the air. Those were just flipped over. So they're either flipped or toasted, it seemed.
Interesting.
Thinning and rapid aging of materials. It looks like it's been at the bottom of the ocean for 100 years. Really deteriorated quickly in just a short amount of time. Or toasted-looking metal. Circular holes in material. There's a couple of different kinds of circular holes. There's some where it looks like if you, through the thickness of a solid object, draw a line through space, and then at a radial distance from that line, kind of pulverize all the material, dustify all the material, like in a cylindrical manner, but it doesn't need to come to the outside. It can be just within the thing.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting.
Rounded holes in glass, where window's completely intact, just a round hole in the middle of it, or some other portion of it, and it's a double pane window, and the inner pane is still intact. You can't do that with a baseball. I don't even think a professional glass cutter could do that.
Quite right. And Dr. Wood, if I could ask, the Hutchison effect, it's named after, I believe his name is John Hutchison, is that right?
Yes.
And what either technologies or forces is he manipulating where he has demonstrated many of these effects? What's involved in that work?
He began wanting to replicate the work of Nikola Tesla and of T. Townsend Brown and a few others, and try reproducing it and maybe, tweaking the knob differently here or there to see how you could alter those effects, like different frequencies causing different kinds of effects to different materials.
Very interesting. So some Tesla-type technology, like I think a Tesla coil, and then did you say radio frequencies involved also, interactions between these fields? Is that fair?
How he first did his various effects was he had a Tesla coil and then interfered radio frequency that would create a static field, and then within that would interfere radio frequency signals. Later he started using a Van de Graaff generator because it was safer to use, just to create the static field that by itself isn't going to do much. You know those gizmos where you put your hand on and your hair stands on end?
Yes. Yeah.
That's usually where you see those in demonstrations. It's a Van de Graaff generator. So get one of those, and then within the static field, interfere radio frequency signals, like microwave or something else.
Okay. Yep. And that helps me understand, because I know that some of the other, I guess I would use the term skeptics. They say, well, how come we did not see a beam when we talk about directed energy being involved in this? And what I'm hearing from the Hutchison effect and some of this work is that it's more so an interaction between these fields that are involved. It's not that we would see some kind of visible beam, quote unquote, involved. Is that
correct? It's an interference of different energy fields. It's not like in my detractors have been spreading the rumor of ray beams from outer space or laser beams from outer space. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is field effects. Like an example of that is a magnet. Yeah. You have a magnetic field. You don't see it, but if something is in the region around the magnet, it tends to pull towards the magnet. So these are interfering fields. And again, my background is in interferometry. And I recognize this not as the typical type of optical interferometry, but an interference of different effects, because that's how you can get this abrupt line between effects and no effects.
And also some of these just bizarre anomalies in what we see. Some of the things we've talked about earlier, the car that is half toasted and half intact. And is that fair to say that some of these different phenomenon or anomalies might be explained by these field-type effects?
Oh, yes. And also there seems to be a trend I noticed in the evidence with grounding effects. Like the car door has a rubber gasket around it. Uh-huh. The car is sitting up on tires. And the signpost next to the car, where it's embedded in the concrete and in the ground, is grounded. It's not affected. But the car sitting next to it is toasted.
I see. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. Dr. Wood, we do have a couple of folks on the line also, I think, curious to visit with you. So what I'd like to do now, let's see, Carol in Kentucky. Are you still on the line here with us, Carol?
Yes. Hi.
Hello, Carol.
Good afternoon to you both.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to say good afternoon to you. And tell us, Carol, what's on your mind this afternoon?
Well, I've read somewhat on Tesla's creations, or whatever you call them, but I'm wondering about the technology that's used against individuals, that is used, to cause harm. And I've got video proof of this being done to me.
I see.
And I've been woke up out of a dead sleep